Hello, this is Helen Donovan, the Unit Coordinator of NSB303. I was wanting to use this opportunity to talk to you about Assessment 1 and particularly to draw your attention to the fact that this unit is about health promotion, and we are working with the definition that health promotion from the WHO, from the World Health Organization, that health promotion enables people to take control of their own health. So this is what you're focusing on all the way through. And remember, I'll put this screen up here showing you some of the different models that relate to health promotion. So keep these in your mind as you're working through them, because it's different to what you have been doing before. You just need to take that different focus and different perspective. So let's have a look at the assessment itself. So it's a summative assessment 1 that's due in week 6. So this is the one you're going to be working with. There's a Turnitin portal there for you, so make sure you use that one. Now, it is a case study, this piece of assessment, and it is the Ruby Pascal case study. Now, for those of you doing NSB304, you will know that this is the same case study, or the first half of the same case study that you were doing in the simulation. Now, for those who aren't doing NSB304, you are not disadvantaged in any way. All the information that you need to work with this case study is here. So we have the clinical notes. Okay, here, and particularly looking at medical records. So looking at progress notes, observation sheet, medication chart, things like that. That will help you know a little bit more about Ruby. And there's also a handover, an NSB303 extended handover that you need to work with while you're thinking about her case study. So that's important material. That is what you're going to base this whole piece of assessment on, is those 2 items. So the first part of the assessment asks you to create a health promotion template using the clinical reasoning cycle. So this is the one that I have provided you with here. So make sure you only use this one. Don't use any other template, only this one. So there are 3 pages, and you are only to complete 3 pages, no more than that. So the first page is the assessment. Okay, so considering the person and the context, so we're looking at that background information, that's very important. Then we're going on to the assessment data, what we know is happening right now, all of that assessment data, and then you're going to process the information just as you've done previously in the clinical reasoning cycle. But remember, this has to be from a health promotion perspective, and I'll put some self-determinants of health, those 2 models we looked at in the workshop, to guide you in your thinking of your assessment. Now, when you're recording onto your assessment sheets here, it doesn't matter how you're recording the information as long as it makes sense. So if you want to use headings and bullet points, or stems and bullet points, or sentences, that's fine, but they have to make sense. It can't be just random words just popped on the page there that don't have any sort of logical reasoning. Then we go into the planning stage, and you're identifying the problems. Okay, so up here you are identifying your health concerns and the patterns. Here you're identifying the problems. Okay, and you're asked to come up with 3 unique problems. So just number them. Then goals. What do you want to achieve when you're addressing these problems? And remember, it has to be from a health promotion perspective. So your goal should relate to making sure, so your goal is for that person to be able to take control of their health. So if your goal isn't doing that, then you're on the wrong track. You're not on a health promotion track. Okay, so think back when you write your goals, does this goal enable this person to take control of their health? Is that what we're aiming to do? Then the next part are the actions and the interventions. So actions and interventions for each of those problems you've identified. Now remember, in a health promotion situation, sometimes we need people to change their behavior and their attitude and the way they approach things. So this is when we're looking at those models of change. So if you need to do that, then you should be discussing and introducing those models of change that you're going to use to be able to implement the interventions. and step through them. Make sure it's very clear the steps that you're going to be using with those strategies to be able to implement the interventions. So make sure it's very clear here what you're doing. The next part is evaluation. So you're going to write evaluation criteria for each of those problems. 1, 2, 3. So number them 1, 2, 3. Make sure they flow logically between each step. So you need to show what am I going to be looking for to determine if the intervention was effective, if the process we used for the intervention was effective, and if we've achieved the outcomes we were aiming for. So what are you going to look for? So that evaluation criteria needs to be there. And then the last section is writing a reflective piece on what you've learned from your working through this Ruby Pascal case study. So if we have a look here, yes, it's due on Sunday the 5th of April at 11:59 p.m. There'll be a blog and it will be open in week 3. So save all your questions till then and put them up on the blog site. In the meantime, try and work through the questions yourself. You need to read widely. You can't just say, I'm just going to do the assessment. It's very difficult. You need to read all of the modules, work through all the materials that's provided for you before you even start this piece of assessment. Then that blog will close on the Friday. So that's when you're going to can put your questions up there. I won't be giving you the answers, but I can give you direction and I can give you some guidance if that's what you need and some clarification. There'll also be a discussion forum on the 20th of March at these 2 times, and I'll have a late night Zoom at 7 p.m. Zoom meeting so that you can ask questions, particularly for those who can't get into QUT itself. So let's just have a look at the task here. So it tells you it's about Mrs. Ruby Pascal. It says you're a registered nurse working on a medical ward. You're on an early shift. She's got poorly self-managed type 2 diabetes and a general anxiety disorder, which worsening. She's got some personal issues. Okay, so your task is in 2 steps. The first one we've talked about, the health promotion plan using the clinical reasoning cycle. Only using that template, only 3 pages maximum, that's it. Now you'll see here it says all health promotion related assessment data. So that's all, everything, not just half of it, it's all of it. It must be comprehensive. And then from that, you will identify your 3 priority health promotion problems and you will number them and you will write a goal for each, making sure they relate to health promotion and enabling the person to take control of their health. Then you will write up to 3 nursing-focused health promotion interventions, and you might need to implement some of those strategies as well to go with it. It says, please note if you include referrals as part of your intervention, it must be very clear what your roles and responsibilities are to support the referral and the ongoing intervention. And of course, when you're going to refer a patient to another healthcare professional, you need to make sure that they are part of that decision because it has to be patient-centered. So they need to be very much part of that discussion and they have a voice and a decision as to how you're going to go forward with that referral. Also, once you've referred, what is your responsibility after that referral has occurred? Your evaluation criteria needs to be listed there under each of those 3 problems and then a reflective points as well. Now it says here the health promotion plan does not need to be referenced, but it must be comprehensive, it must be logical, and it must be accurate. So don't miswrite things that are incorrect. Make sure you're very accurate with your material there. Now your health promotion plan must be accurate, it must be comprehensive because your essay is based on that health promotion plan. So it says using contemporary literature and drawing from the health promotion plan, justify 1 or 2 of the interventions and health promotion strategies that you have chosen for each of the identified problems. You have 3 problems and you need to justify 1 or 2 of the interventions and health promotion strategies you've chosen for each of the 3. And they must be the ones that come from the plan, and it must be very clear where they've come from, and you need to be able to argue why these interventions are the best possible interventions and strategies for these problems. Now, the next part is about the evaluation criteria. So you need to explain how the evaluation criteria that you have listed on the plan will inform you as to the effectiveness of the intervention and the strategies that you've used to be able to achieve your goals. So you need to be able to explain that. Now, it's an essay, so you need an introduction and a conclusion. Now, it says here that we are working with this definition from the World Health Organization. Okay, that health promotion is the process of enabling people to increase control over and to improve their health. So all the way your paper, you should be constantly thinking, is this what I'm doing? Are my interventions, are my goals, is my aim to enable the people to increase control over their health? It's an individual piece of assessment. This is not group work, so do not collaborate with anybody. It's 1,000 words plus or minus for the essay. The word length does include in-text referencing, but not your reference list. No direct quotes, please. It will take about 30 hours, 40%. Has a 7 plus or minus point grade scale using a rubric, which is at the end of this document. Here is your due time, and of course, do not wait till the last moment to submit it. Start hours before, because you know that Turnitin does get overloaded at times. If we have a look at presentation requirements, you need to make your own cover sheet. Please don't use a pre-formatted one that you've used before. Make sure you have a footer, margins. Always use double line spacing so that we can give you good feedback. These are the recommended fonts. Now, as you know, the APA style referencing has changed, and we are now using APA 7. So make sure you're very familiar with APA 7 and go to SiteWrite, have that beside you so that you're constantly checking. It's also a school requirement now that all in-text references have page numbers, not just some, but all of them, so you need to do that. As a contemporary paper, all of your literature and resources need to be within 7 years of age. We're looking for the highest possible quality. You may use textbooks, but only up to 25% of your total reference list. Otherwise, you will lose quality in your work. You can use legitimate websites that are government-based or organisational-based that have legitimacy in relation to healthcare and nursing, and an introduction and a conclusion. Now, the referencing recommendations. Often students will ask, what number of references do you need? Well, because this is a third-year academic unit, it has been decided that you are at a stage where you don't need to be given suggested numbers. You will be able to determine yourself what type of evidence you will need to be able to support your paper. So it says here to give your paper authority, validity and accuracy. So does it give your paper strength? Is it valid? Is it correct? Does it say what it should say? Is it accurate? Okay. Make sure any of your work carries those weights. So if you've got a definition or a description, it has to be accurate, so you must have evidence. If you're arguing a point, it needs to be valid. So it needs to be arguing what it's truly trying to argue. So you must show your source of evidence, and it must have a page number. It says here, please note that unreferenced material cannot be accepted as factual or credible. So just because you've written it down doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean it's accurate, so it cannot be accepted. You need to submit a Word document via Turnitin. So it's one Word document that includes the template in that table format of 3 pages only, your essay with references. Now, if we have a look down here at the criterion reference assessment, this top part is about the clinical reasoning cycle. For a 7, it has to be comprehensive, so it needs to have all of the assessment data, but it has to be to the point, and it has to have a logical flow and application through. If you start leaving out parts, then you'll start getting your ticks down here in the 5s. The next part is about the nursing interventions and justifying that they were, how they were going to help the patient achieve control of their health. So this is this part here. So you need to justify, so lots of good reasons, lots of really strong literature to support it is what you're needing. And this part is about the evaluation criteria. So you're explaining how this evaluation criteria is going to tell you whether or not the interventions were effective to achieve the outcome you wanted, whether the process was effective, whether you were able to achieve your goal. And that's what the criteria is. So read it very, very carefully, this criteria, because it shows you where you're going to be graded. And here's the section here about writing. Now, as third years, you're expected to be able to write exceptionally well at this stage. No grammatical errors, no spelling errors, punctuation, tense should all be correct. Should be non-discriminatory language, and it should be discipline-specific language as well. And you should be able to use APA 7 referencing really well. So that's your assessment task for assessment 1. Only work with this one that is here for you. Wait for the blog site in week 3, and then I'll be able to respond to your questions. Now, if you know you're going to have some difficulties or you already feel as though you'll need some support, you'll notice on the announcements page, I put up some information for you here. So these are workshops for academic health for undergraduate nursing students. So these are specifically for you, for nursing students. Now, they operate out of the library. So you can either go to the QR code. You'll see some posters around the School of Nursing. Some are drop-in, some you need to book. So have a look. If you think you're going to need some help, or even if you want to be reassured, then certainly go to these workshops and these supports. You can also go to the Support for Learning site here, and that will take you to many of the available materials as well. So good luck with the assessment. There's plenty of support there, but really work hard to work with it yourself. It's, as a third year, you're going to be a registered nurse soon, and you need to be able to work independently and really do as much as you can independently, and then seek advice, you know, only when you need to tie all those pieces together that you might be having trouble with. Okay, thank you.